This SWAT officer's body cam shows the moment when a team infiltrated this hostile apartment in a rescue operation. They threw a flashbang grenade and stormed in to save a hostage.
It looks like a movie, but it's real. A SWAT team throws a flashbang grenade and storms an apartment to save the hostage.
The terrified woman had been held captive for 4 long hours, shrieking as the gunman used her as a human shield. Amidst a hail of gunfire, the police hit their target, shooting the gunman. The woman was successfully rescued, but she was worried about another thing: her beloved kitten, Neptune.
The terrified hostage has been held captive for 4 hours. She shrieks. The gunman was using her as a human shield. In the hail of gunfire, cops hit their target and shoot the gunman dead.
Finish clearing the building!
I got him.
The woman is safe, but fears her kitten named Neptune is...
Another video from across the streets shows the intruder threatening to harm the hostage while holding a gun to her head. That's when the SWAT team moves in. The gunman ducks and runs across the room, but was out of luck.
Come on.
This was the view from across the street minutes before. Video on Twitter shows the intruder threatening to kill the hostage.
He's got a gun to someone's head.
What?
That's when the SWAT team moves in. The gunman ducks and runs across the room, but there's no escaping.
Earlier that unfateful day, the police department reported that the same gunman had shot at a family, grazing a 14-year-old boy's head, and attempted to carjack a woman. They tracked him to this apartment building in downtown Los Angeles, where the hostage drama unfolded on the 4th floor. Surveillance video shows the man running into the apartment complex, with police close behind.
Earlier in the day, police say the gunman had shot at a family, grazing a 14-year-old boy's head, and had also tried to carjack a woman. They closed in on him at this apartment building in downtown Los Angeles, where the hostage drama unfolded on the 4th floor. Surveillance video shows the man run into the apartment complex.
This body camera video shows the intense moments before a chaotic moment in Austin, Texas, on September 23rd. Earlier that day, a woman had called 911 about a domestic disturbance involving her children's father. The man, later identified as Antonio Gonzalez, was reportedly being violent and had a gun.
Daddy's here. He's not supposed to be on property. He's trespassing, and I'm trying to get my kids from him, but I told him to meet me at Optimore, and he's over here at my apartment.
The woman told officers the man, later identified as Antonio Gonzalez, was getting physical.
Has he gotten physical with you at all, or just arguing with you so far?
At my window.
And had a weapon.
Police arrived about 15 minutes later, and the suspect could be seen carrying a handgun. The officers tried to calm him down, asking him to lay down, but despite their pleas, Gonzalez kept walking around with the gun.
Do you see any weapons on him or know that he has any?
Yes, he does.
Do you see one on him, or you just know he has one?
No, he has a gun on him.
Do you see it?
Yes.
So where's the gun at right now?
In his sweatpants.
Believing it to be a possible hostage situation, officers arrived on the scene about 15 minutes after that 911 call came in. At the time, Gonzalez did not have any children, but was armed with a weapon.
We're trying to get you water, bro.
A crisis intervention officer and a SWAT vehicle were called in after Gonzalez repeatedly threatened to unalive himself. For almost 2 hours, officers tried to defuse the situation, talking to Gonzalez on the phone. He threatened to shoot himself if the officers didn't shoot him first. Attempts to tase Gonzalez didn't work. When he reached for the gun in his waistband, officers fired.
We're trying to get you water.
Officers on the scene attempted to de-escalate the situation, asking Gonzalez to lay on the ground. Instead, he continued to walk around the area armed with the handgun. A crisis intervention officer and SWAT vehicle were called after Gonzalez threatened to kill himself several times.
A dramatic SWAT video captures officers surrounding a house where a suspect was hiding. They arrived in an armored vehicle, dressed in full SWAT gear. According to officials, the suspect, named Harper, jumped out of a second-story window and sneaked around to the back of the house.
Surrounding a house where Harper was hiding inside. Officers arrive in an armored vehicle wearing SWAT gear. Officials say Harper jumped out of a second-story window before sneaking around to the back of the house.
He then decided to make a run for it, sprinting across the street, but tripping twice as he fled. The video captures officers chasing Harper down the sidewalk. He slips a third time before a K-9 officer runs after him.
Video shows officers chasing after Harper as he runs down the sidewalk. He slips for a third time before a K-9 officer runs after him.
This video captures the moment when Seattle police responded to a frightening report of a barricaded suspect in the 2200 block of 15th Avenue West in Lower Queen Anne. 2 terrified women were being held against their will.
Very soon. Right now I still have eyes on you. You can see me, okay? So if anything changes, I'm staring directly at you, okay? Okay, and we're just waiting for them and then we'll get things rolling. But right now, just keep listening to them, talking to them, and just trying to obviously do what you do and de-escalate, and we'll work through it, okay? Okay, you're doing a great job, okay?
When officers arrived, they found out that the suspect had entered the room through the house's security camera, so the officers from the SPD's hostage negotiation team, along with SWAT, forcefully took down the locked door, but the suspect had already held one of the women hostage and hinted that he had a knife, threatening to hurt both women.
I got it. You got it? Yeah. All doors are locked? All of them are locked.
Oh, he just...
Hands up.
The officers bravely entered the room and arrested the suspect, who kept on telling the policeman to shoot him. Thankfully, both victims were unharmed. A knife was found at the scene.
Right now! Hands up! Hands up! On the ground! On the ground! On the ground! Feet down on the ground!
This body cam footage shows Tucson Police Department SWAT officers chasing after an aggravated assault suspect, Martinka, driving a car. As officers pursued the car, Martinka caused a serious multi-vehicle crash, disabling his vehicle just west of East Grant Road and North Campbell Avenue. When officers approached, Martinka pulled out a handgun and shot at them. The officers fired back, hitting Martinka.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Back up! Joe, back up! Back up!
This alarming video also captures the moment when the RHD and Metropolitan SWAT unit went to an apartment to serve a search and arrest warrant for a suspect linked to several robberies. SWAT surrounded the apartment complex and shot 2 40mm less lethal launchers towards the suspect's window, then proceeded to talk to him over the phone, ordering him to give up. Shortly after, Rocco climbed over the third-story balcony of the apartment, holding an assault rifle, and jumped to the ground. As Rocco hit the ground, he dropped the rifle and quickly tried to reach for it again. As he grabbed the rifle, shots were fired by the officers. Rocco was hit and taken into custody.
Get back inside. He's got a gun. Don't reach for it! Don't reach for it! Let it go! Let it go! Let it go! Stop reaching for it! Stop reaching!
The Richmond police SWAT officers tried to serve a search warrant related to drugs at a house. They set up a perimeter and had police cars with flashing lights around. They used a loudspeaker to ask anyone inside to come out. When nobody came out, officers broke through the front door.
All right, move on up, give it a couple knocks. Where's the police? All right, breach.
Move in right here in the window.
Breach.
Inside, officers faced an older suspect holding a gun at the door. An officer shot him with his police gun. Right after the suspect got shot, another person hiding surrendered to the officers.
Come to our boys!
Where's she going?
I got this, Tony.
It's under the table. It's under the table.
Walk!
Walk to us!
Come this way!
The Tucson Police Department SWAT team was on the lookout in a gas station for Francisco Javier Galarza, a man wanted for serious crimes like breaking into homes and robbing banks. When Galarza came out of the store, the officers approached him and told him to lie down on the ground so they could arrest him. But instead of doing what they said, Galarza tried to run away and pulled out a black handgun from his bag.
Oh, he's out. He's out. Take him here. Take him here. Push it down! Push it down! Get down!
The K-9 officer let his police dog chase after the suspect, and it eventually caught up with him, bringing him to the ground. While lying on the ground, Galarza pointed his gun at the police dog and the officers. The cops fired their guns at the suspect, neutralizing him.
Get down! Run it right ahead!
Go!
This surveillance video shows a white-skinned man in black clothes breaking into an office. The intruder walked through the lobby, found a revolver in a desk drawer, loaded it, and then shot at the business's security camera system before fleeing the scene after damaging the door. The next video shows the suspect trying to get into another room. When he couldn't get in, he shot out the front glass doors of the business with the revolver. That wasn't enough for him, so he backed his car through the doors. The criminal then entered the business, stole several items, returned to his car, and fled the scene. In response, multiple JSO patrol units arrived at the apartment building where Pinette was located and set up a perimeter. Using a loudspeaker, JSO officers instructed Pinette to come outside his apartment for about 40 minutes. Instead of complying, Pinette fired multiple times at the officers from inside the apartment.
Opening a door! Oh, door's open! Hands up! Hands up! He's firing out the window. Shooting out the window.
Hey, what's fire? What's fire?
The officers around the perimeter fired back. As a safety measure, they called for JFRD to come. A rescue vehicle was waiting nearby. After the first exchange of gunfire, Pinette barricaded himself inside his apartment. More officers arrived to take tactical control of the situation. They kept instructing Pinette over a loudspeaker to come out unarmed.
Hey, this is Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. We see you at the window. We saw you earlier with a firearm in your hand. Why don't you put it down, open the front door, or open this back door, and listen to the instructions of the officers.
Eventually, Pinette came out of his apartment with a revolver in one hand and a knife in the other. To prevent further danger, an officer fired a single shot, hitting Pinette, and he fell to the ground. Even with his gun and knife still close, Pinette kept moving.
He's at the front door with a gun, at the front door with a gun in his hand.
Stop it!
This body cam footage shows SWAT using a bullhorn to try to get a suspect to come out. The suspect, Matvey Klimenko, threw items at the police and dashed out of his hiding spot with a knife. He then ran through several homes trying to escape. Officers unleashed K-9 Zeke, and Klimenko seemed ready to stab the dog. That's when the police shot him. The Houston Police Department released body camera footage of a police chase that ended with officers neutralizing the suspect, named Lewis, who drove for several miles before arriving at a parking lot. He circled the lot multiple times until HP.
Alright, 102, is it the Goodwill parking lot? You got units trying to box them in.
Lewis then got out with a weapon, pointed it at the officers, and fired. Officers Dexter, Gonzalez, and Harris County Precinct 4 deputies shot back, hitting Lewis.
Hands! Hands! Hands!
Cease fire!
LAPD Southwest Patrol Division officers responded to a call about an assault with a deadly weapon. They found out the suspect was armed, likely on drugs, and had fired a weapon. The suspect then barricaded himself inside a home. SWAT officers were called to help. They set up a perimeter, evacuated nearby residents, and tried to talk to the suspect.
She said it was like a shotgun. The bullets are this big, and they're round. They're not like, it's what is it, they call it like shotguns? I know, it's pretty big,
She's saying it's a shotgun now.
When the crisis negotiation team couldn't make progress, they used tear gas. During this, the suspect fired and hit the SWAT officer twice. The suspect then came out with a shotgun, leading to an officer-involved shooting where the criminal got hit in the crossfire.
So yeah, hey, don't fucking move! Don't move! Don't reach for that rifle!
A traffic camera captured a suspicious person dressed in black walking into a school. Switching to the camera installed in the hallway, it captures a young man walking towards a class with a rifle at hand. As he approaches the classroom, a child peeks from the other hallway and sees the armed suspect and immediately runs away just before gunshots could be heard from the classroom where the armed criminal was now. A few minutes after the crime had begun, some armed and vested police officers made their way into the campus, but did not act until the SWAT team took charge. Armed with guns, bulletproofs, shields, and helmets, they confronted the perpetrator, ultimately leading to the loss of his life. A group of SWAT teams surrounded a home, surprising neighbors. Investigators say they disrupted a big fentanyl pill operation. The SWAT teams raided the home, searching for evidence of fentanyl pill production. Police found equipment for making pills, suspected fentanyl, and guns inside. At least 3 children were in the home but were safe.
Worrisome moments as a shelter-in-place was issued in this southeast Aurora neighborhood. SWAT teams moving in around 6 a.m., raiding the home, searching for a fentanyl pill-making operation.
This body cam captured a long and intense 30-hour standoff that occurred in Charlotte, North Carolina. The police were called to a home where a man, Ty, was threatening his neighbors and officers. When officers arrived, Ty yelled through a megaphone that they couldn't arrest him, claiming he was above the law. His mother confirmed that he was armed with a revolver. Despite their efforts to negotiate, Ty remained inside, ranting about religion and the government.
I'm not real, all right? I'm in heaven. Okay. And I saw, I'm a messenger of God, all right? God, the Holy Bible. I swear by the name of Jesus Christ. I saw the police kill this idiot fool.
The situation escalated when the SWAT team was brought in. They used drones and removed doors and windows to gain access. Ty attacked a drone with a bat, and the police cut the power to the house. Negotiations continued over the phone, with officers trying to convince Ty to surrender peacefully.
No, we do not want you to hurt yourself. Nope.
You don't want me to kill myself in peace.
I've told you the truth the whole time.
We can't live here no more.
After hours of tension and negotiation, Ty finally came out and was taken into custody.
Let me wear that. Clearing this. Yeah, we got it. I told you it's all trash.
Hey, it probably is. I can't have you. I can't have you.
Go ahead, bro. Keep it safe while you at it.
I can't have you going to the hospital without checking.
Okay, bro.
In a tense encounter, officers confronted a chaotic scene involving a hostage situation and a violent struggle. The cops made attempts to make the suspects let go of their hostage, but their words fell on deaf ears. The criminals gradually stepped out of the garage with a weapon against his hostage, and they tried escaping, but one of them got lost in the moment and was captured by the cops, while others were pursued through the neighborhood.
Get on ground. Get on ground. Get on ground. Put your hands behind your back. I got one on the ground here.
No!
The hostage, who was taken, returned home. The captured criminal was handcuffed and locked in the police vehicle, while a black male was found bleeding from his face, urgently needing medical assistance. The officers secured the area, ensuring no other threats were present. They questioned a shaken resident, who recounted how the assailants barged into the wounded man's house as he was leaving, driving a silver Kia SUV.
Hey, I need a 32 over here at 910 Ardella. We got a black male bleeding from his face.
How bad
32 as fast as possible.
10. Your face is all
Is it 10?
The officers continued searching and came across a red SUV that wanted to leave the area, but the driver was instructed to turn back, and the officers continued their patrol. Shortly after making more inquiries from residents, they soon realized that suspects were in the red SUV and had forcefully ordered the driver to help them escape. The assistants were both taken into custody.
Spread your legs out, man, guys.
The Los Angeles Police Department released dramatic body cam footage showing their SWAT team shooting a reportedly armed suspect, LaRon James. Central Patrol officers had rushed to assist the Los Angeles Fire Department with a call about a man. When they arrived, the man pointed a gun at them as they tried to talk to him, leading the officers to call for additional backup from the LAPD SWAT team and the Crisis Negotiation Team. The SWAT team used a chemical agent to try to force the suspect out of his apartment. In response, the suspect fired his gun out the window, at which point an officer shot him.
Sierra 3 shot away. The suspect is down, just inside the window.
Drone and body camera footage reveal the moments leading up to a deadly shooting in Northern California. The Yolo County SWAT team arrived at Hector Perez's trailer to serve an arrest warrant for child assault charges. For 4 tense hours, officials tried to contact Perez, calling out from outside his trailer and reaching out to people he knew, but they got no response. So they deployed a drone to get a clear view of the trailer, and the drone footage confirmed Perez was inside. Officials repeatedly urged Perez to come out with his hands up, but he did not heed their warnings, so they then used a robot to breach the trailer and a pole camera to search for their trainer. Perez grabbed the camera. Officials then used an armored vehicle to approach the trailer's front door, tossing a phone inside to communicate, but Perez ignored it. They resorted to CS gas to force Perez out.
After that, Yolo County officials used a robot to break inside the trailer and get a better look around. Body camera video shows first responders also using a pole camera to search for Perez.
Perez finally exited the trailer, bloody and holding a knife. Officers shouted for him to show his hands and fired a less lethal weapon. When Perez still didn't drop the knife, an officer opened fire. Perez moved towards another officer behind a propane tank as 3 more officers took cover behind a tree. Perez dropped the knife near his trailer, and officials immediately administered life-saving measures, but the suspect unfortunately did not make it.
When Perez still does not drop the weapon, an officer opens fire.
Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife!
Shots fired, shots fired.
This camera record showed the moment when an elderly woman was served with a court-sanctioned warrant by a SWAT team. The mission was to retrieve weapons, cash, vehicles, and a phone that was tracked to the woman's home through the Find My iPhone app. Despite the homeowner's protests of innocence and solitary residence, officers persisted. After a thorough search, including the shed and attic, officers found no evidence of the alleged theft. Subsequent investigations revealed no probable cause for the search warrant.
So they got a search warrant for your house, okay? There was some evidence that they believe is in the house.
That's when Johnson tells the officers she lives there alone. She says there's no one else inside because she keeps her doors locked.
Johnson's ordeal didn't end with the search, as the officers started questioning her. They asked inappropriate questions, asking if her son or grandkids were criminals. The search inside the elderly woman's home continues, and the team finally calls it quits, as they found none of the stolen goods in her house.
Officers seemingly question whether Johnson's grandchildren could be suspects in the case. They ask her about this as she sits in the back of a squad car.
Miss Johnson, did you have any grandkids over recently?
Did I have any?
Yeah, like maybe yesterday.
Oh no.
No.
This body cam captured tense moments when a SWAT team got to their suspect's supposed home. Without wasting time, they immediately got to work and took down the front door. Immediately as they break into the house, the homeowner surrenders and tells the officers that it was just her and her baby in the house.
Hands up! Okay. Come to the door. Good. Just come down to us. Okay. Come outside.
I'll put shoes on there.
Is it a permanent bed? Come out.
The cops proceeded to search but did not find anything aside from the sick baby in its cradle. They interrogated the handcuffed homeowner further before removing the cuffs after she explained that they were in the wrong house. The baby seemed to be in shock from the breach, so the medical team attended to it.
So is
This
that your
is our
aunt?
house. This is Dumpton's house. Rita and Marlon Jennings.
Okay, gotcha.
It's just, I call him Dumpton.
Okay.
And then my mom and sister stay in that room. Me and Dumpton sleeping in here on the couch. And Rita and Coach are
A veteran SWAT officer remembers the tragic events of April 20th, 1999, the day of the Columbine High School mass shooting. On getting to the scene, the SWAT officers were briefed on the situation.
So as I pulled up, I couldn't even park on that street. There were so many cop cars parked there. And it was chaos. Everybody was running in different directions.
Expecting a firefight in every room, the SWAT team finally reached the science room, where the culprits had gone upstairs. They found teacher Dave Sanders, who had been shot while trying to evacuate students.
We had to break the door open, and the children were frozen. It is the first time I'd seen this phenomenon, and it's just sheer fear. And I said, let's go, we got to get out of here, and no one would move.
Next, they approached the library, knowing the assailant's location. Turning a corner, he found them lifeless from self-inflicted gunshot wounds.
And then the parents came asking us, with photos, have you seen my child? And I can't even fathom what those parents were probably going through.
Rick Massa, a veteran SWAT officer, recounts the terrifying North Hollywood shootout that changed his life forever. On February 28, 1997, a police officer rushed into the academy in his black and white patrol car, shouting about a bank robbery in progress. The two suspects, Neil Matasorino and Larry Phillips, were well-prepared takeover bandits.
February 28, 1997. One of our police officers comes flying into the academy in his black and white, yelling that there is a bank robbery in progress in North Hollywood.
Upon arrival at the chaotic scene, Rick and his team assessed the situation and located Larry Phillips. His AK-47 had malfunctioned, so he continued down the street with a Beretta 9mm, shooting at anything that moved. Shot in the hand, he desperately tried to carjack anyone nearby.
And shotguns that were ineffective, but yet they never gave up, and they continued after the suspects.
When Phillips saw the SWAT team approaching, he fired several rounds at their car. Rick couldn't see him as he was hidden behind his car, but he spotted Phillips's feet under the vehicles. Rick shot and hit him in the ankle, which brought him down.
He sees us coming, and he shoots a number of rounds at our car. And we are trying to return fire. I can't see him. He is completely hidden by the front of his car. I'm looking under our car, under his car, and I see his feet. So I now shoot and I hit him 2 or 3 times in his ankle, which drops.
In this body cam footage, SWAT officers can be seen questioning residents about an incident that had happened earlier. Shortly after the interrogation, the camera shows when the cops located the suspect's house and rescued the 5-year-old. After evacuating the young girl, the cops entered the suspect's house and convinced him to surrender, which he did.
When the window was open, he came out there.
He could have came out there because we cleared that. No one was in.
The video from the Volusia County Sheriff's Department shows a tense scene where heavily armed SWAT officers and deputies are seen confronting a suspect who allegedly set a house on fire and shot a deputy. The officers continually ordered the suspect to surrender, but he did not heed their caution. Shortly after, the suspect came out and the cops rushed at him, while the police dog pinned him on the ground before the cops took him into custody. An Alabama woman is in jail after live-streaming her own arrest during a dramatic SWAT team raid. The incident began with the officers surrounding her home in Decatur, Alabama. Despite the orders to surrender, the suspect continued to live-stream, praying and talking to her viewers. The standoff ended with SWAT officers demanding Moore show her hands and come out of the house. Despite her pleas and resistance, she was eventually arrested.
Okay.
Do not treat him like that.
Somebody get her.
Please don't. I just have my book in my hand, my Bible.
You're good.
That's it.
This body cam footage shows a tragic officer-involved shooting that occurred after an intense 8-hour standoff. The Maryland State Police had earlier received a report about a man who had contacted a crisis hotline. The man, Jack Cimino Jr., threatened to either end his life himself or provoke the police into shooting him while under the influence of an unknown substance.
A deadly officer-involved shooting is caught on body camera video in Maryland after an 8-hour standoff.
Negotiators tried to persuade Cimino to surrender peacefully, even promising that a specific firefighter he requested, Eddie Wolf, would accompany him to the hospital. Despite the tense dialogue, Cimino did not exit the house unarmed. At one point, Cimino, who claimed to have multiple weapons, approached the door holding an AR-15.
Say again? Okay.
Sergeant Jesse Hartsock, perceiving a direct threat, fired at Cimino, who then fell backward into the house. The officers moved in cautiously, noticing blood and a gun near Cimino's body.
Almost on the side. Yep.
In a recently released body cam video, a dangerous prank targeted a couple, leading to a tense situation in Deltona. SWAT members arrived at a home with guns drawn, responding to a call that turned out to be a hoax. The call claimed that a man had taken the life of his wife and was planning to set the house on fire.
Deputies, guns drawn.
Walk this way, right here.
The video shows Sandy Hunter McGee, a man visiting from New Jersey, confronted by the Volusia Sheriff's deputies, but they quickly realized that he was not the person they were looking for.
The released body camera video shows Sandy Hunter McGee's encounter with deputies.
I'm utterly confused. Yep.
In this harrowing 911 call, a person reported that he had shot his parents during an argument and was still armed with a handgun. The dispatcher asked for details about the weapon, to which the caller responded that it was his dad's black handgun.
Do you have any weapons on you?
Yeah, I do.
What kind of weapons do you have?
A handgun.
The caller mentioned he was keeping his parents confined in a closet while assuring the dispatcher that he was not harming his little brother. Despite being asked, the caller refused to put the gun away and insisted on keeping it, expressing his intention to possibly set the house on fire after pouring gasoline throughout. SWAT officers responded to the scene, preparing for a potential hostage situation. Several officers took their positions, and a male individual appeared at the front door. One officer discharged his weapon, and the 28-year-old male was subsequently transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced lifeless. Falsely reported emergencies, known as swatting, targeted the home of Tariq Nasheed while he was sound asleep. The police first tried to reach him by telephone, but Nasheed thought it sounded strange and hung up. After a fourth call, he went to his front door and saw people with guns aimed at him. He called the police back and was told to go outside with his ID.
He called the police back and was advised to go outside with his ID.
They had been told there were bombs in the house and that his wife was restricted against her will and tied up. It was all a fabricated story. The police suspected it might be a case of swatting. Despite the situation, Nasheed stayed calm and questioned why he was handcuffed if the police already suspected the call was fake.
Nasheed remained cool but questions why he was handcuffed when police already suspected this was a bogus call.
In this intense video recording, SWAT officers break through a locked door
Police Department, search warrant. 1125. Police Department, search warrant. Police Department, search warrant! Police Department, search warrant! This is 3050 South Dillon.
And upon entering the dark apartment, they immediately exchanged fire with an armed man who was lying on a couch. According to police reports, the civilian who was involved in this encounter was apparently not the suspect that they were looking for.
This unfolded Monday on Nellis near Desert Inn, and police say they were following up on a homicide from last year.
The San Pablo police received a 911 call from a woman at a home on Dover Avenue. She said that her husband, Smith, was showing signs of schizophrenia. While the dispatcher was on the phone, they heard Smith in the background saying he would unalive police officers and make them take his life too. There were still family members and children inside the house.
How many people are in the house with you?
My parents and two of my children, so 4 people.
When officers arrived, they tried talking to Smith in the front yard. He ignored their orders and hid in the side yard. Smith started throwing pieces of brick at the officers. The officers used tasers and beanbag rounds, but these didn't work. Smith then grabbed a folding chair as a shield and a 3-foot metal pole. He charged at an officer with the pole, but the officer managed to dodge it, and another officer neutralized him. Body cam footage from 4 SWAT team members shows their violent exchange with an armed suspect who was in a white sedan. The officers continued shooting even after cornering the suspect. By the time the cops opened the assailant's door to arrest him, he was already lifeless in the car.
All right, you got a gun right there. Coming across.
In this gripping dash cam footage, Dallas police officers begin a quest to take down 4 crews of robbers who are responsible for more than 40 business robberies across the city. In this video, a car hastily reverses and speeds off from a cell phone store on East Ledbetter Drive around 11 a.m. and is followed closely by 3 police officers carrying guns pointed toward the moving car. They all rushed horribly into the car, chasing after the suspect's vehicle. Miraculously, the robbers were chased down, with guns targeted at one of them, who was lying down on the floor with his hands over his head. The police van surrounded the culprit, leaving him with no choice but to helplessly surrender.
On the ground! Get on the ground!
Video shows police arriving at Vander Grove, Honda, about 12 minutes after the suspect was recently fired from his job at the dealership.
New video shows police arriving at Vandergrift Honda about 12 minutes after the shooter recently fired from his job at the dealership.
This dashcam video shows a shooting at a car dealer shop. The police officers got to the scene and identified the suspect with guidance from bystanders. They found Abbas Al-Muta in the parking lot. Police shot the 25-year-old 2 minutes after they arrived. It remains uncertain how many times Alma fired the rifle or whether that gun was obtained legally. But surveillance video shows him inside the dealership, confirming witness accounts.